right, adventurers. Puzzles are always fun things to be able to throw in front of your players, be it in a simple dungeon, be it a den of thieves lair, maybe it's part of trials that the party has to overcome to prove themselves to something, or I don't know, maybe it just simply leads to a toilet, maybe the big bad doesn't want anyone to interrupt them in their private thinking chamber for plotting. But anyway, this video contains 5 puzzles that you can put in front of your players, so let's get into this. Yes, it is I, Nathaniel Gomezian, shopkeeper and proprietor of Gaming Treasure Chest. Now, so today's video is all about 5 simple fun puzzles that you can throw in front of your players. As I said, one of the key things to remember with puzzles is to make sure that, because they can slow down the pace in the game a lot as it makes your players think, that the main thing is that sometimes having puzzles whereby there are multiple solutions, or if they get the wrong answer, there is still progression in terms of maybe they continue but with a hindrance, are some of the best puzzles to put in front of your players. I have actually got a few different videos on puzzles, and I will continue to make videos on puzzles because I enjoy making them, so why would I stop? So I will actually have the playlist down below, so if you enjoy these ones, why not consider checking those ones out? But anyway, let's get into the first one. The first puzzle might seem like a bit of a dead end to begin with for the players. As they walk into this space, there is a big wall that goes across them and there are no other exits other than the one that they have come through. You can seal that off if you want to, but you don't have to. But the point is that what the players see on the wall is it can be written in common or it can be written in any language you want. If this dungeon is specifically a specific race or something that would make sense for them to have their language up there, or one that is an obscure one that maybe that one party member has, so they can have a moment to shine here because they're the only ones who can read it. Multiple different ways, but you can just have it simply in common. And inscribed on the wall, it simply says, "Paint me red with that which flows within. That which is paid will be paid back in full." And so it's quite simply that this puzzle is trying to say that you need to paint the wall red with blood, and that will make something happen. Now, what I like to do with this puzzle is have a set number of hit points that the players basically have to sacrifice to the wall in order to paint it red with their blood. Now, this could be just one of the party members decides to do this, or it could be all of the party members. You could potentially also get some smart players who have gathered blood from creatures that maybe they've defeated earlier on in the dungeon, or maybe they just happen to have a jar of blood around because, they slayed that dragon once and they thought that they'd keep its blood because maybe they'd be able to get a good price for it, and they just haven't bothered to sell it, and now they just have this jar of dragon blood that they're dragging around the place. Be it whatever they decide to do, but if they are not being smart and trying to use blood from some jars or something else, and they are actually using their own hit points to maybe punch the wall, headbutt the wall, cut themselves and throw it on the wall, ask them how many hit points they are putting into this with how much blood they are willing to sacrifice here. Now, obviously, I said as they start doing it, you can start to say the wall starts to ripple and such, and only when it hits the target hit points that you have put down there. As I said, it's going to depend on the level of the party, depending on what it is. Obviously a higher level party, you would want them to sacrifice maybe a few more hit points than a lower level party, but whatever it is, basically once they reach that target, it ripples and violently shakes and then shatters, and what it reveals on the other side of the wall is, as I said, it will be paid back in full. It will be a copy of whatever they put on there. So if it was just one party member, it will be that party member in a blood kind of form that the party then have to face, and so they have to face their own. If everyone in the party has put some of their blood into this, they are facing the whole of their party basically in blood form and having them attack them, and they have to therefore defend. If they've used blood from something else, then it is whatever blood that they have used is coming back in full to attack them. And that's when the clever thing of using the dragon's blood might end up turning against the party, as they are now facing that dragon again. Because basically whatever is created in the blood will attack the party, and they have to defeat it, and upon defeating it, that's when they'll see that past it a door opens and they are able to continue. You can also have it that as the wall shatters and whatever it is starting to attack them, the party can see that there is a door, so if they are able to get past whatever it is, be it themselves attacking them, or be it just one of the members of the party, or whatever, attacking them, say it's that dragon, if they're able to get past it and get to the door, then they can get themselves out. But they might have to barricade the door or find a way of trying to stop it from opening, because whatever the blood essence has turned itself into is coming to actively try to defeat the party, so therefore they'll be banging at the door and such. So it'll be interesting to see if the party do decide to circumvent this and go straight for the door, how they're going to barricade the door to stop whatever it is from getting to them. The next puzzle is kind of going against one of the golden rules, which is don't split the party. With this puzzle, you are trying to actively split the party, and the way that this is done is that you can either do it in a city, town, or in a dungeon itself, because the way this puzzle works is that the players have got to destroy runes that are scattered around, let's say in a dungeon or in a city, and they've got to destroy these runes simultaneously. So there's the exact number of runes that there are party members. There has to be some way that the party finds out that they have to destroy these runes within a couple of seconds of each other, or they start to reform. So let's say we're doing this in a city. One is inside a fountain in the middle of town, one is at the very tippy top of a bell tower, one is in a chapel, and one is maybe in an abandoned house. Now all of these locations are completely separate from each other, and basically this could be maybe that it is creating a barrier of force around the town itself, so the players actively cannot leave, no one else can leave. The bad guys have basically done this as a way to seal everyone in. Maybe the barrier is actually stopping any kind of magical messages, in terms of maybe they're trying to ask for reinforcements using the message spell or whatnot, but it can't get through this barrier. Or something along those kind of lines, whereby you have to take this down in order to progress. This can also be done in a dungeon. Maybe there is a sealed door in the middle that the players are all trying to get through, but in order to be able to get through it, you can see carved on the door these different runes that maybe the players have found while they were exploring this dungeon, and it's in different locations within the dungeon, so therefore they have to separate in order to get to these things to be able to take them down. Now, obviously, the party members might try to explore going from one to one. Now, if they destroy one, then maybe when they go back to the door, it has reformed on the door, or maybe if they try to experiment and whatnot, that they see that if one of them stays there, then when it's destroyed, it does disappear, but then it starts to reform, and obviously it does start to reform where the actual thing is that they've destroyed, where the rune is that they've destroyed, it comes back. And so this triggers in their head that they do have to separate. Now the thing about this one is there is supposed to be a kind of obstacle there at each one of these locations that the players have to get through. So let's go back to the town analogy. So maybe obviously the one which is at the very tippy top of the bell tower, the player has got to climb, or maybe make a very skillful shot of an arrow to destroy this thing, or something along those lines in order to gain access to it. I said with this, your players can go through multiple different options of what they decide to do to be able to deal with these things. Maybe the one that's in the fountain in the middle of town, when they destroy the rune, it summons a water elemental from the fountain and they have to deal with that. Maybe the one that's in the chapel is actually being guarded by some of these cultists or whoever it is, evil people who have set this up. Maybe the one in the abandoned building has an additional trap or something set in there, or a rug of smothering or something along those lines. Now, as I said, potentially your party decide to go to each one of these locations first, as a group, to see scope them out and see what's going on with them. If they do that, that's perfectly fine, in terms of the fact they're still dealing with the obstacles that are in front of them. But maybe the obstacle only becomes apparent once they've actually destroyed the seal in their time. So as I said, with the water elemental, it only activates once the seal is broken. So they might see that it's in the fountain, have a little look round and go, oh well, there's not much going on here, so you can take this one, kind of thing. Not knowing that once they do that, because maybe they've tried to destroy one of the seals previously and they've found out that obviously all of them have to be destroyed simultaneously, so maybe they don't test all the seals out first. So there's different things you can come up for each of the seals. It's a puzzle because it is forcing them to think how they're going to deal with the situation, but also there are multiple ways to deal with the situation depending on what each member decides to do, the different abilities that each member has and such. It could be funny. So that is why I like this puzzle as well, because it is an obstacle the party has to get over, but it can be done so in multitude of different ways. The third puzzle is one actually taken from a video game. I don't know if anyone has played Blueprints before, like a kind of thing. A very good game, very fun, like a puzzly kind of game. But basically this game has a room that you can create called the parlour, and each time you go into the parlour there are 3 boxes, a white one, a black one and a blue one, and basically whenever you go in here, each of those boxes has got a statement on it. Because basically the rule of this is that there's at least one box that will tell the truth, there is at least one box that will lie. The third box could be true, it could be lie. And the thing with this is that you can either do this with boxes in terms of the fact that maybe 2 of them are mimics and 1 of them actually has the treasure, or in my way of doing this kind of thing, it is 3 doors. There is a white door, a black door and a blue door, and basically there are statements on the doors, and this is the situation that they know, maybe there's a plaque in the middle, maybe they've been informed before coming here that basically on these doors there are statements. There's at least one that will always tell the truth, there is at least one that will always lie, and and the third could be either true or lie. Somebody has actually wrote out all of the different parlour puzzles that are in the Blueprints game, so I will link that down below so that you can choose whichever statements you want for the doors, but I will give you a couple of examples here so you can understand the kind of gist of this puzzle. So basically, one door could say every door is black, another door could say every door leads the correct path, and the third one could say the statement on one of the other doors would be true if you replace the word every with this. So basically that would mean that potentially maybe the first door says this door is black, and maybe it's on the white door, and maybe the middle one, as I said, that said every door contains the right exit or whatever it is that I said. Basically it says this door contains the right exit, therefore that is the right door to choose. Another quick example of this could be that one door says that only one statement is false, another one says only one statement is true, and the last one saying that the way out is through the door with a false statement. And basically the way out in this one is the middle door, because one thing is saying that there is only one false statement, the other one is saying that the way out is through the false statement thing, and the one saying that there's only one true statement. Basically there are 2 true statements, and so therefore that must be the false one, so the middle one is the one to go through. So I said there are a few of these ones that can be quite tricky, and so I will link down below different ones from the blueprints for the box. I said you have to exchange the word boxes for doors and such, but I said it could be a lot of fun still to throw in front of your players. With this one, as I said, you always want to let your party progress, so if they choose one of the doors which is incorrect, then they can still proceed. It's just going to be, there's going to be a harder progression than if they chose the correct door. If they choose the correct door, then it leads them directly to the next room or whatever it is that they're trying to get to. If you choose one of the other doors, they can still progress, but maybe it leads into an ambush, a trap or something like that, which shows to the party that they chose the wrong door, but they are still able to progress. It just might mean, as I said, that there's a trap or a combat, so therefore you're not impeding the players enough that they can't continue on past these doors until they get the right one, but they are still being able to progress onward, which is key, and I like that, because as I said, it's one of those things whereby they get the assurance of knowing they have chosen the right door if they go through, and they're able to continue unimpeded in terms of into the next one, whatever's going on with there, or they know that they've chosen the wrong one, because the moment they go through that door, it leads them into an ambush or a trap, as I said. Now basically have it be that once one door is open, both the other doors lock, so the party actually, if they tried to go back and go through one of the other doors, it's impossible for them to be able to do so. They just have to progress through the door that they have chosen. The fourth puzzle is yet again a very easy, simple puzzle. As I said, these ones I'm going down a much more simplistic route for parties. With this one, it is simply pressure pads, in terms of the fact your party go into this room and they see that there are kind of these buttons that if they depress, then the middle of the room starts to turn into a spiral staircase, and basically once they take the pressure off, then it locks itself back up again. So therefore the party have to find a way in order to keep weight on top of these pressure pads. And I said there's multiple different ways they can do this. Maybe there are boxes in the room, maybe there's not enough boxes for all of the depressed switchy kind of things, so therefore they have to find something else. Maybe they drag corpses or whatnot on top of these things. But basically, the party have got to come up with like some cunning solutions. Maybe they have to take items out of their bag or something like that in order to put on top of it to be able to create enough weight to be able to cause this thing to be able to create the staircase for them to progress onward. So there are multiple different ways that your party can go about this, but this simple puzzle can be a lot of fun to see the creativity of your players in terms of what they decide to do in order to put weight on these things in order to continue to progress down this staircase kind of thing. Maybe this can create some kind of paranoia with your players in terms of the fact that they think that maybe they've got to put like, you know, alert spell or something like that on the doorway or something like that in case something comes in and moves something off of one of these pressure pads that will then seal up the staircase that they go down, because if they go down then maybe they might not be able to come back up again. So this can also create a little bit of paranoia and that kind of thing in terms of like once they go down, will the stuff stay on the pressure pads and not lock them and seal them down here? So yeah, again, it adds that little layer of like fear almost into them. So it can be interesting to see what the players decide to do about that as well. And with the fifth and final puzzle, yet again being lovingly stolen from something, let's take this one from Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. And the puzzle that we're doing here is the one which when they go into the Ministry of Magic, it basically, once they go through the door, a flashbang happens and the walls revolve. And so basically, this happens every single time they enter this room, and there are multiple doors that are leading out. And so basically, it is to confuse the party and not let them know which doors that they are going through and which doors, like, you know, are the right way forward and such. Now, as I said, this one is fun because it's interesting yet again to see what your party decide to do about the situation. Now, obviously, like, you know, marking the doors is the main thing to do, like in terms of being able to like mark the doors, be it with a spell or cantrip, or like just marking it with like stabbing into it and like making a mark physically. Those kind of things can help because basically once they go back into this room, when it flashbangs and like the walls revolve, then the doors, if they've made a mark on them, will still have those marks on them wherever they end up within this situation. This could be a lot of fun to do. I would recommend, if you are running this, to actually like have a spinny kind of thing, or like something which can keep track of which door is which kind of thing, like with like a circular piece of paper with another circular piece of paper on top of it, and like one of those like push pin things that you can rotate it. This just helps you as a DM when you randomly spin this know which exit is which exit kind of thing for like the party, which door is leading where. And basically like the way that this is that the party will stumble around going from door to door. There can be things going through those doors. There still is some manner of progression and exploration. Like maybe there are things that will help them within this dungeon or lair or whatever this is set up in. Like maybe they can gather information, but there's only one way which once they go through it will actually progress them further to continue on kind of thing. Like maybe in some of these rooms there's actually like an encounter in terms of combat or something along those lines. Like maybe things that are being kept, pets that are being kept that will try to attack them, like a tiger or something or other, whatever's going on here. So again, that will be flavour and theme depending on where you're putting this. So it's a very fun, simple one. Now, as I said, like, you know, the party will get wise that once they exit a room and go back into this, that there will be the flashbang and the rotation and such. So once they go through it first time, it's basically a con save with like a really high DC. But as the players keep going backwards and forwards, maybe they shield their eyes, maybe they're getting used to knowing what the hell's going on. So that con save massively reduces, because basically, like, you know, it's a con save for being slightly blinded for a couple of seconds, but also, like, you know, the inertia of the movement of this room going round, like that's what's like a of like a fairground ride kind of thing. But as they're getting used to it because they're expecting it, as I said, the DC can come down and down and down. So, like, you know, maybe they won't get blinded if they're covering their eyes as they go into this room, but there's still the chance of the disorientation kind of thing from that. So basically, like, that's the way that you can run this. It's a very simple puzzle that yet again, like, makes the players decide like how they're going to mark the doors, or maybe they just don't mark them at all, just keep randomly trying door and door and door. Maybe they end up going back for a door they've already gone for, and like, what the hell are we doing here? But basically, it's a very simple puzzle that, like, you know, does get the players thinking, and that's why I enjoy it. But those are the 5 puzzles that I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed them. As I said, I do have multiple other puzzle videos that I've done before, so I will link a playlist down below. So if you enjoyed the ones that you saw here today, like, as I said, like, these ones are kind of puzzles whereby they're kind of like a more simpler aspects, but, like, you know, There are fail safes and whatnot if the players fail, like if they can still progress, which is what I like. It's puzzles like that that I enjoy. So if you want to see more content than that, then please consider subscribing to the channel, because I do Dungeons and Dragons content every week. So if you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy more of them, as well as obviously comment down below if there's any puzzles which you use in your campaigns. I would love to hear about them down in the comment section down below. With your permission, obviously, potentially they might end up in a future video. So please consider putting if you've used puzzles before, or if you've used any kind of puzzles that I've thrown out video-wise before. I'd love to know how they went. So yet again, leave that down in the comment section down below. There is also the Discord server if you want to join the Discord server. Hopefully, I try to foster a lovely community of people who love role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons and such, where we can all talk ideas and whatnot. Maybe get some games going in the future. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a pretty dead server at this moment in time, but I'm hoping to breathe life into it and have good times and such. There is also the Etsy store of gaming treasure chests, where all the things on there are Dungeons and Dragons themed items that I have designed and 3D printed myself, and I will send to you. So if there's anything on there that you like, please consider looking at that. I said, don't be forced into a purchase. The option is obviously there for you if you want to, but don't feel forced. If you don't have the money, don't feel forced. But thank you so much for watching. Until next time, goodbye.